Joining us now to analyze the trial so far is one of R. Kelly's attorneys, Steve Greenberg. Thank you for being here with us today on BNC Live, and let's get right to it. Knowing what you know about this trial and your experience preparing for his other cases, what can you tell us about how the defense did?
Well, we'll see when the verdict comes back. I mean, if they win, they did wonderful, and if they lose, we can then take a scalpel to it and figure everything out. I think that the correspondent made a good point. It's really a difference here of, did R. Kelly have an operation that was designed to assist him and help him maintain his sex life? And the prosecutors say aspects of that sex life were illegal. They brought up a lot of things that weren't illegal, maybe were a little kinky or things like that, or immoral, which probably should not have come into the trial. But did he have this group operating to help him to maintain a illegal sex life, or was this just his lifestyle? If this is just his lifestyle, and he did things illegally, and there are illegal aspects to it, it's not a RICO offense. The government needs that furtherance element. They need those around him to be assisting him, to want to help him. They need it to be part of their jobs, that people would get fired if they didn't do these things, that they would get punished if they didn't do these things. That's where I think the weakness exists in the government's case. It doesn't exist in whether or not R. Kelly had sex with these women. Many of them, the sex was consensual and open and notorious, as we say. But it's in the RICO aspects of it that I think he should prevail in.
But we did hear some people testify that if they didn't sort of follow his orders, they would be docked pay. If that sticks, is that an implication that there was punishment for not following the alleged operation?
Well, but punishment for what? So if my employees here at my firm don't do what they're supposed to do, they're not going to get a raise. Maybe they get fired. Maybe they don't get a bonus. Maybe they get some other kind of a sanction, for lack of a better term. That doesn't mean that I'm acting to maintain, or they're assisting me in maintaining, a criminal enterprise. So some of that evidence that came in fact, all of it that I heard, related to things that were unrelated to the charged crimes.
They made the decision not to put R. Kelly on the stand. Is that a tactic that you're considering?
Well, R. Kelly made that decision. It's a defendant's right. There's certain fundamental decisions that only a defendant can make in a case, whether or not to have a jury trial or a judge-only trial, whether to plead guilty or not plead guilty. That's up to a defendant. And the third of those is whether to testify or not to testify. So they could consult with them, they could advise them in that regard. I don't want to get into what those discussions were because they're privileged discussions, just as when we represent him, they're privileged discussions.
So I have to ask you about a strategy that is generating a lot of conversation about sort of a comparison of R. Kelly to Martin Luther King Jr. Your thoughts on that, and will that be mirrored?
Well, I think that, and I've read some of the criticism, and I've read some people who thought it was brilliant. I think that was targeted at some specific jurors. They do have some African-American jurors, and I think the message there was, look, Martin Luther King fought for these ideals. He fought so that people would have certain rights, and we're asking you to remember that fight, to remember those rights, and to understand that we are a nation of laws, and those laws apply equally to everyone, no matter how you like them, you dislike them, or anything like that. So I think that was the message. He picked Martin Luther King. Is that who I would have picked? Obviously not. I think for that particular attorney, for Mr. Kanak, he can draw that example. I couldn't draw that example. I've told young lawyers that some lawyers can get up and sound like a Baptist minister in closing argument. Mr. Kanak is one of those guys. I try and sound like a Baptist minister in closing argument, and the jurors are going to start laughing at me.
So based on what you've seen and heard and read, and even your conversations with Kelly, how will this shape how you frame your cases moving forward?
Well, I think they're very different cases. Our case involves business transactions. Essentially, it's a case in the federal case here in Chicago for obstruction of justice. They have videos that he supposedly tried to pay people off not to testify about, and paid people off to destroy. And so ours is much more of a traditional federal case. This case that they presented here was kind of like a state court case, a sex case. Our case is more like a fraud case, or it's an obstruction case, but it's essentially a document-driven case.
Well, thank you for joining us this afternoon.